104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Our good friend from Naira right now, Andy Serling, with us. Andy, Justify, the favorite, wins the Kentucky Derby. Any shocking things that you saw in that race?
I mean, I don't know if it's shocking, but I think it's surprising how few horses showed up. The rain probably had a lot to do with that, but we've seen wet tracks before where a lot of horses have shown up. And for the horses Justify and to a lesser extent Good Magic, who have been going so quickly up front, that they obviously tired late, and the first half was 45 and change, and the second half was 53 and change, and yet no closers were able to make any kind of significant impact in the race. So the surprise is not that Justify ran well, not that Good Magic ran well, but that nobody else really ran a particularly good race. And while once again the rain had something to do with it, a lot of horses completely failed to show up.
Andy Serling with us right now. So, Andy, the rumors, everybody's who knows things that maybe don't know things, Justify hurt himself in some way, shape, or form, a pebble in the hoof or something like that?
Are you saying there's people in the world and in racing that repeat things that they don't know anything about? I'm so disillusioned.
I just did.
I can't believe that. I'm going to have to rethink my entire life now. He apparently had a mild bruise on his heel. And, like anything, especially under that microscope, it gets way blown out of proportion. And the Internet is full of dopes that pretend they know something that don't know something. I actually knew about this. I was pretending I didn't know about this. And they said a lot of sort of reckless things. Was it an issue? I'm sure it was. Do horses have issues all the time? Absolutely. Is it something that's going to prevent him from running well? I suppose it's a possibility, but it's highly unlikely. It's pretty unlikely that Bob Baffert and Windstar would possibly put a horse of this value in any kind of jeopardy. So I think it's much ado about nothing, but perhaps some others feel differently.
Before we get to the Preakness, the curse of Apollo is officially over. Is this going to start a new trend by some trainers and owners to not run these horses as soon as maybe they would have thought?
Does feel like people are looking for just about any excuse not to run these days. No, I don't think so. I think, listen, I'm sure Bob Baffert would have loved to have run Justify as a 2-year-old. Obviously, he had issues. I would say that's a bigger concern than his foot, to be honest. What took him so long to get to the races, and how's he going to react in his 5th race in 13 weeks? But no, I don't think it's changing things. We've had a number of horses in the Derby in the past that were good horses that didn't start until too late. I don't think people were going to intentionally do that. I'm sure, once again, you'd always like to make the big races as a 2-year-old if you could.
Andy Serling with us right now, of course, Naira's own. And Andy, we're moving into Preakness territory. Is there anything that tells you that we're not going to have the second leg of the Triple Crown won by Justify?
Well, it is going to be a sea of mud, apparently. There's going to be a ton of rain down there all week, as there is in the Northeast, too. So I suppose that the mud of the Preakness could be different than the mud of the Derby. And like I said, I guess his 5th race in 13 weeks could take a toll at some point, but he's an overwhelming favorite, and I'm not looking to try to beat him in here. I certainly root for my friend Chad Brown with Good Magic, and think Good Magic, like most people, is very much the second likeliest winner of this race. But I just look at the rest of the field, and I'm not particularly enamored by anybody. If you want this year's Cloud Computing, I don't think in a winning end it's that horse, but Tenfold might be kind of an interesting horse who, like Cloud Computing's only run 3 times. Like Cloud Computing, he skipped the Derby after running okay in the prep, in case the Arkansas Derby, and he could be an improving horse for trainer Steve Asmussen that we'll hear from sometime later, but I don't see how he's going to beat these horses. Justify is very, very good, and Good Magic is also very good. They're a tough twosome to get by, and I'm not looking to beat either one of them.
Why is the field so subpar? Is it they're holding off horses for the Belmont? Can they not beat Justify? Why is the field like this?
Well, I think the Preakness is often like this. A lot of people say, I don't want to come back in 2 weeks. I'd rather give myself 5 weeks and take a shot in the Belmont, especially because the Belmont is an interesting race. It's 1.5 mile distance, can be a great equalizer, and horses that not necessarily as good as some of the other horses in the Derby or the Preakness going 1.25 miles, 1 mile and 3/16, they may thrive at 1.5 miles. So they may be able to beat a horse that's technically better than they are, but not better than them at 1.5 miles. So I think people like the idea of waiting the 5 weeks. And, of course, don't forget, if the Derby winner loses the Preakness, probably doesn't come back in the Belmont, and then it becomes a wide-open race. So I think people would rather stick to that plan. And also the fact that Windstar owns so many of these horses, including the 3rd finisher, Audible, they're not going to run back a horse like Audible who could beat Justify. They are running Quip in here, but I think their feeling is, well, Quip can only be effective here if Justify fails to show up. I don't think in a fairly run race, Quip is going to run down Justify.
Naira's Andy Serling with us. All right, Andy, the favorites look like they're going to win this thing. How do we make some cash?
Well, what I would do, I would basically play tries. Justify, Good Magic Justify, with Good Magic Justify first and second, both of them. And then I would use tenfold the 6 and the 8 Bravazzo as my third horses in there. And, maybe I'd have a ticket where I had them any of them finishing second, But Justify or Good Magic, one of them's going to win. And I'd press with Justify on top. I don't have a particularly clever idea, but I'd try to cement some triples with horses like tenfold and Bravazzo finishing third, more likely, maybe a little for second.
And then after the Preakness, we're 3 weeks away from the Belmont. Are tickets still available, and how do we get them?
Tickets are available, but I will tell you, when Justify wins the Preakness on Saturday, they'll be gone about 10 minutes after the race is over. So it's such a great day of racing. I mean, you can go to Naira.com. You can go to BelmontStakes.com for more information. You can obviously buy them if you're at the track. But it's such a great day of racing. I don't understand why people wouldn't want to just buy their tickets now. They're going to have fun whether Justify wins the Preakness or not. You got multiple Grade 1 stakes, a huge day of racing. It's a great weekend if people can come down for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Buy your tickets now. Why risk not getting them? And it's going to be tough to get in if Justify wins the Preakness because everybody wants to come for Triple Crown. It's the 150th Belmont. We've got a special sweepstakes where one fan gets a chance to, pick the winner of the Belmont and win $150,000, which may not be that hard if Justify wins the Preakness because he's a pretty likely winner of the Belmont if that happens. But it's a great day, like I said, and I hope people are coming down whether Justify wins or not.
Andy Serling, you can catch him on Naira. You can catch him right here on 104.5 The Team once the track season gets underway here in Saratoga, as well as whenever he is foolish enough to answer the phone, we call him. We get him on here as much as we can.
I wait by the phone for your call. It's the highlight of my incredibly depressing life.
You can smell the sarcasm in the air, and we love it.
Goodbye, Andy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Look forward to it, guys. See you later.